That morning, the girl disappeared without a trace. Rebecca Reusch, an ordinary teenager. Rebecca Reusch, 15 years old, living in Berlin, Germany, is a girl like any other teenager. The youngest of three sisters, Rebecca is described as obedient, intelligent, artistic, and loves animals, especially cats. On social networks, she often shares selfies, cute quotes, or photos with her family. However, no one expected that this ordinary teenage girl will become the main character in one of the most mysterious disappearances in Germany in recent years. If you find this video interesting, don't forget to like the support, share for your friends to explore, and subscribe to the 2D Mystery channel so you don't miss any mysteries that are about to be revealed. Normal weekend, the beginning of the strange. On February 17, 2019, Rebecca went to her sister Vivian and brother-in-law Florian R.'s house in the Neukölln district of Berlin to spend the night. Her family was used to Rebecca staying there. It was completely normal. That night, everything went peacefully. Rebecca slept in the living room, covered with her signature red blanket. There was still unwashed food in the kitchen. The TV was still on, nothing to indicate the nightmare that awaited. But the next morning, Rebecca disappeared. The fateful morning. The pieces don't fit. On Monday morning, February 18, 2019, Vivian's sister got up early to go to work. At that time, Florian told Vivian that Rebecca was still sleeping on the sofa in the living room. That was the last time anyone confirmed seeing Rebecca. Vivian left the house, and then no one has seen Rebecca since. Florian, the last man to be with Rebecca, said that when he woke up, she had left the house, carrying a backpack and a jacket. He believed that she had gone to school as usual, but the reality was completely different. Rebecca did not go to school that day. She had not contacted anyone since early morning. Her phone was no longer working. She had no wallet, papers, or house keys. A 15-year-old girl in a modern city like Berlin disappeared without a trace. No cameras, no GPS data, no witnesses. It was no longer a truancy. It was a strange disappearance. First reactions: family panic, police hesitation. When Rebecca did not return home that evening, her mother began to worry. At first, the family thought she might have gone to a friend's house without telling them. But when calls were unsuccessful, concerns began to build. The first call to the police was made on the evening of February 18th. However, like many other cases of missing teenagers, the police initially did not consider this an emergency. Rebecca might have run away or was upset, they said. But the family did not believe it. She would never leave without telling me. Never, Rebecca's mother said through tears. 1.5. The first clue: the pink blanket and the empty time. In the house where Rebecca stayed, the police found something unusual. The red blanket she had used to cover herself was no longer there. Someone had taken it, and no one knew why. Florian, the only person who stayed after his wife left, said he slept in until almost noon. During that time, from 7 a.m. to almost 11 a.m., no one could verify his whereabouts. A gap of 4 hours in a disappearance. More than enough time to hide a body or make a person disappear. But at that time, the police did not suspect much. They did not search the house thoroughly. They did not take the phone. They did not think of a crime. The hopeless search, the first golden hours missed. The first 24 hours of a missing persons case are called the golden time. The time when the clues are still fresh, the traces have not been erased. But in Rebecca's case, those first hours were spent in delays and subjectivity. No search warrant, no checking of neighborhood cameras, no tracking of the phone. By the time the police started investigating seriously on the second day after the disappearance, it was too late. Rebecca, or her body, could have been taken far away. The public reaction: social media exploded. Berlin was in chaos. Within a few days, Rebecca's photo was all over German media and social media. The hashtag #FindRebecca became a trend. People passed around her last photos. Pink hair, youthful eyes, teenage smile. Her disappearance became a collective nightmare. Volunteer searches were organized. Social media groups were set up to share clues. But all came to a dead end. The eerie silence. No one knew what had happened. No one saw her leave the house. No camera footage of Rebecca that day. No phone signal. No movement on social media. Not a trace. Rebecca Reusch, a 15-year-old girl, simply disappeared that morning. A disappearance without a goodbye. A question that grew over time. And a silence, lasting more than 5 years. Clues dripping. The investigation stuck in the closest circle. When suspicion starts to turn to acquaintances. There was no sign of Rebecca leaving on her own. There were no strange messages. No one saw her leave the house. She disappeared without a trace. And in mysterious disappearances, if it wasn't a stranger, it was usually a relative. As the investigation began to expand after a few days of no results, suspicions began to turn to one name: Florian R., Rebecca's brother-in-law. The last person in the house with her that morning. The one whose whereabouts were unknown for a while. The first person to say, Rebecca left the house to go to school. The problem was, all the cameras around didn't record Rebecca leaving the house. Silent cameras and strange gaps. Berlin is a big city, traffic cameras, shops, houses. But on the morning of February 18th, no cameras recorded Rebecca leaving the house, walking or taking public transport. It was a discovery that stunned the police. If she had left the house, she should have appeared somewhere. But no, all the cameras were blank. It was as if she had never left the house. The history of the Renault Twingo. Unexpected clues. The first big clue came not from the house, but from the small red car, Florian's Renault Twingo. Using license plate tracking and motorway cameras, the police discovered that the car had left Berlin on the morning of Rebecca's disappearance, specifically the next day, February 19th. It was found heading towards Brandenburg, an area of sparse woods and lakes. A deserted area, perfect for someone who wanted to hide a secret that would never be found. The car was even found back on the same route on February 21st. The question is, why would Florian drive to a remote area in the days immediately after his sister-in-law went missing? Police in action. First search warrant. After discovering the car, the police began to take a serious look at the whole case. They applied for a search warrant for Vivian and Florian's house. Inside the house, they found some hairs believed to be Rebecca's, some suspicious stains on the sofa, and most notably, the red blanket had completely disappeared. The police suspected that the blanket might have been used to wrap the body. They also confiscated Florian's phone, but unfortunately, much of the data on it had been deleted. Browsing history, GPS, applications, all had been cleaned. Arrest of Florian, but the evidence is not enough. On February 28, 2019, Florian R. was arrested for the first time on suspicion of murder. The news shocked Germany. Public opinion was divided. One side believed he was innocent. The other side affirmed that only he could have made Rebecca disappear like that. However, just a few days later, Florian was released due to lack of conclusive evidence. No body, no witnesses, no DNA. Everything was just speculation and suspicion. Justice cannot go far with just feelings. A family divided, a pain of two extremes. The situation became tense when Rebecca's own family was also divided. Vivian's mother and sister firmly believed that Florian was innocent. Some others, even in the extended family, suspected Florian's involvement. Interestingly, Rebecca's mother herself once told an interviewer that Rebecca loved Florian very much, often stayed at her sibling's house, and that if anything happened, Florian would never hurt her. But sentiment is no substitute for evidence, and the truth, if there is one, is still hidden somewhere between layers of trust and silence. Second arrest, then, released. In March 2019, after finding more data on the car's schedule, Florian was arrested a second time. But again, there was no DNA, no new incriminating evidence. And so, he was released again. The only person suspected in this shocking disappearance. Arrested twice, released twice. And the case has not made any progress. Desperate efforts. Searching for Rebecca in deep forests and lakes. Based on the vehicle's schedule, the police searched dozens of hectares of forest in Brandenburg, dived through many lakes, used sniffer dogs, drones, and heat detectors, but found no trace of Rebecca. No clothes, no bones, no personal belongings, no blood, no DNA, as if she had never left the city or had been hidden somewhere too perfectly. The case is not closed. By the end of 2019, Rebecca's disappearance was officially transferred to active investigation suspension, meaning that the police would only continue if new evidence emerged. Florian still free. Family still missing daughter. Society still divided. Rebecca still not found. A repeating cycle. Suspicion, investigation, disappointment, silence. And one question becomes increasingly clear. What is someone hiding? Prominent hypothesis. The truth in the dark. When silence speaks, the official investigation fell into a deadlock. But in the community, curiosity never stopped. Netizens, amateur analysts, retired former investigators, all began to dissect the case. And from there, many hypotheses were put forward, some based on logic, some with a strong conspiracy theory color. However, all hypotheses revolve around one thing. Rebecca did not leave on her own. Hypothesis 1. Florian in a fatal accident? The most popular hypothesis is that Florian did not intend to kill Rebecca, but an unexpected event happened that morning. An argument? A game that crossed the line? An accident in the living room? This hypothesis suggests that Rebecca may have died due to an accident or negligence. Florian panicked, not knowing what to do. He decided to hide the body and create a fake scene that she had left the house. This explains why there were no signs of a struggle, why the cameras didn't record Rebecca leaving. Why did Florian's car go to the Brandenburg Forest, the perfect place to dispose of evidence? But if it was an accident, why didn't they call an ambulance? Or is there something else being hidden? Hypothesis 2. Rebecca ran away with a mystery person. Some believe that Rebecca may have been lured by someone on social media. Based on the habits of teenagers, this cannot be ruled out. It could be she met a stranger online, someone she trusted. She slept at her sister's house that night, then sneaked out of the house early in the morning to follow that person. Florian lied to protect his family's reputation, or simply didn't want to get involved. However, there are weaknesses in this theory. There is no data from Rebecca's phone to show that she contacted strangers near the day of her disappearance. If she ran away, why didn't she take her luggage? Her phone? Her clothes? If Rebecca did run away, she was either poorly prepared or desperate. Theory 3. Was Rebecca taken away against her will? Another possibility is that Rebecca didn't go away on her own, but was forced to go. It could have been a family member hid her in the trunk of the car. Was she drugged? A quick, silent act, done in just a few minutes while the rest of the house was asleep. Police have concluded that Rebecca could not have left the house through the front door without being seen. This means either she never left, or someone took her away in a way that no one could have witnessed. And only those who are very close, very familiar, very trusted can do that. Hypothesis 4. Something too complicated to see. Some criminologists have raised the possibility that there are many layers to this disappearance, and that Rebecca may not have been the only target. This theory suggests maybe Rebecca discovered something scary, such as drug trafficking, family misconduct, or some other dark secret. Her disappearance was not the result of a plan, but an urgent action to cover up the clues. It explains the actions of deleting data, cleaning the phone, the cold reaction, but so far, there is no specific evidence to support that. Florian psychology, questions that have never been answered. The most important question that has never been satisfactorily explained. Why did Florian act so strangely cold after his sister-in-law disappeared? Psychologists analyzed some details. He did not show much grief in interviews. He always avoided appearing in the media. While the whole country searched for Rebecca, he was almost completely silent. Is it nature or is it defense? 3.7. Lack of evidence, but never had a clear alibi. To this day, there is no physical evidence that Florian is guilty, but he also has no solid alibi for the time between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. that morning. No witnesses, no cameras, no solid statements. The police once declared, "If we find the body, we know exactly who will be arrested immediately." The emergence of amateur investigators, and the belief has not died. In the years since the disappearance, a series of amateur analysts, investigative YouTubers, and true crime podcasters in Germany have joined the investigation. Some analyze vehicle tracking data. Others track unusual activity around Brandenburg. Some even dive into lakes and ponds to find bodies. They all have one thing in common. I don't believe a 15-year-old girl could disappear without a trace, unless someone is hiding a terrible truth. The truth could be out there, underground, or in silence. Rebecca could be somewhere in a cold forest. Rebecca could be living a different life, if the wild theories are true. Or Rebecca has been so well hidden that the truth can only come out if someone dares to speak up. We don't know. But as the days go by, time becomes the guilty party's ally. The truth still awaits a confession. Theories help us imagine what might have happened, but also make us realize that we may never know what really happened. Until someone tells us, until the evidence is found, or until time peels back the layers of lies. Desperate search, the journey of a Germany that refuses to let go. When the nation says, no one is forgotten. On February 18th, 2019, a 15-year-old girl disappeared. But what no one expected was that the whole of Germany would join in the search. It was not just a disappearance. Rebecca became a symbol of unexposed injustice. From cities to villages, from social media to national television, people unanimously asked the question, where is Rebecca? For point 2, unprecedented campaigns. Hundreds of posters were plastered across Berlin, Leipzig, Brandenburg. Electronic billboards on motorways displayed Rebecca's image. A reward of up to 10,000 euros was announced for anyone with information leading to her recovery. Germany has never seen a disappearance with such a wide-ranging impact. She entered the minds of millions and stayed there. A relentless search. In the first 4 months, police conducted more than 2,000 independent investigations, including searching all the lakes in the Kummersdorf and Brandenburg areas, using body detectors, underwater sonar equipment, sniffer dogs, digging in areas where temporary burial pits were suspected, checking over 1,400 cars caught on camera the morning Rebecca disappeared. Not a trace, not a piece of clothing, not a glimmer of hope. A map of despair. Police released a GPS map of Florian's Twingo, where it had been twice since the day she disappeared. The Brandenburg forest was the focus. Rebecca's phone signal disappeared completely around 7:30 a.m. Traffic cameras did not record her after that. It seemed that Rebecca had disappeared into the modern world, where everything is monitored except the truth. People did not stand aside. Complete strangers to Rebecca's family organized spontaneous search parties in forests, set up their own website about the disappearance, and updated everything. Run a hashtag #FindRebecca campaign on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. A taxi driver once stopped and burst into tears when he saw Rebecca's picture on a red light. I don't know her, but I feel like my daughter is missing. Volunteers looking for something that doesn't exist. Some people dived into an icy lake in the middle of March to find a body. Some people reviewed every public surveillance camera around Berlin for days. A YouTuber spent more than 300 hours creating a 3D map to simulate the Twingo's path, all unpaid. They just wanted to find an innocent girl who had been swallowed by darkness. Police under pressure and irreversible mistakes. The intense interest left Berlin police in a passive position. They detained Florian twice, then released him due to lack of evidence. The media accused the police of losing the golden time in the first 48 hours. Rebecca's family spoke out. We felt more suspected than helped. The investigation began to divide trust between the public, the media, and the law enforcement agencies. Phantom clues. Hundreds of anonymous calls about Rebecca's sightings. On the high-speed train from Berlin to Hamburg, at a fast food restaurant in Poland, at a train station in France. The police checked every lead. All were either other people or made-up stories. But the scariest feeling was, if she's still alive, why can't anyone find her? Rebecca's mother, the voice that keeps the flame of hope alive. Of all, the one who kept the flame of hope the strongest was not the police, not the media, but Rebecca's mother. She once gave an interview in 2022. "I don't feel like my daughter is dead. I still clean her room every week. I don't need an apology. I just want to know where my daughter is." Hope, however fragile, is still the reason for a mother to live each day. The search has no end. Every year, on February 18th, Berliners light candles for Rebecca. They didn't know her, but they didn't forget her. Rebecca has become a collective obsession, a scar that has not healed in the German psyche. And until someone comes forward or the body is found, the search will not stop. Forever silent? What's next for a case that never ends? When hope slowly fades. In 2024, 5 years have passed since Rebecca disappeared. In a case where time is often the greatest enemy, all clues seem to be running out. Public opinion has not yet calmed down, but the police are also facing the harsh truth. There is no new evidence, no trace that can lead to a solution. Unsolved mysteries. Why didn't Rebecca leave any signals on her phone or social media after her disappearance? Why is there no sign of her intentionally leaving? Is there a third person involved who has not yet been discovered? And most importantly, is the disappearance related to a family member? Each question is a broken link, and the answers remain in the dark. The silence of Florian, the prime suspect. Florian, Rebecca's brother, has always denied all accusations, remaining silent for many years. His calmness during interrogations led many to suspect that he knew something he was not revealing. But the police could not prove anything more to convict. New technology, new hope? Along with the advancement of forensic and surveillance technology, some experts hope that new methods can break the veil of mystery. Analysis of microscopic DNA from Rebecca and Florian's personal belongings. Real-time satellite imaging techniques to monitor large areas. Artificial intelligence to reprocess huge amounts of investigative data, finding new patterns. But even so, the application of these technologies still faces many legal and practical difficulties. The light of the amateur investigation community. While the police are at a standstill, groups of amateur investigators on the internet are constantly analyzing every little detail, sharing theories, and pushing for justice by attracting international attention. They have created interactive maps, reconstructed Rebecca's final journey, and reminded the public not to forget her. Calls for justice. Rebecca's family has repeatedly made public appeals. We need the truth, whether it's good or bad. We just want to know what happened to our daughter. They also called on the public to continue to provide any information, no matter how small. Support from the community remains their biggest motivation on this long journey. Haunting and unhealed wounds. The disappearance has left a deep wound in the heart of Germany. Psychologists warn of long-term consequences for families and communities, from depression and anxiety to a breakdown in social trust. And as the world continues to spin, the question remains, is Rebecca really dead? Conclusion: unsolved mystery. The disappearance of Rebecca Reusch remains one of the most heartbreaking and mysterious stories in 21st century Germany. It is not just a criminal case, but a tragedy for a family, a nation, and humanity in the face of inexplicable loss. Whatever the outcome, Rebecca has become a symbol of hope, perseverance, and an unquenchable thirst for justice.